The alien princess declared him hers, and the Empire couldn't stop them. Working in space always demanded focus, and he liked it that way. There was a calm in zero gravity that he had never found anywhere else, a silence that let him think clearly. Out here, at the edge of human-controlled space, the universe felt vast and full of possibilities. He tightened a bolt that had loosened during the last solar flare. The satellite had been built decades ago by humans, but time and space were harsh masters. One small misalignment, and the entire communication grid connecting colonies in this sector could be disrupted. Elias had been sent here specifically because of his skill in improvised solutions, as his boss liked to say. To him, that was just a fancy way of saying he was clever with whatever he had on hand. And clever, Elias knew, was what humans were best at. He leaned back and admired his work. The panel was secure, the wiring reinforced, and the satellite hummed with renewed life. Not bad for one human against 100 years of wear and tear, he muttered to himself, grinning. Then the calm was broken. A shadow moved across the surface of the satellite, larger than any passing asteroid could cast. Elias froze. Slowly, he turned his head and saw it, a sleek silver spacecraft descending from orbit at a speed that should have torn it apart, but somehow it remained intact. His first instinct was to call for help, but the ship seemed to sense him, slowing as it reached the debris-strewn field below. Elias' heart pounded. He had expected isolated anomalies in this sector, meteorites, satellites gone rogue, but never an actual spacecraft. And certainly never a living passenger. A hatch opened, and out stepped a figure. At first, Elias thought it was some kind of hologram. The being was tall and lithe, with glowing eyes that shifted colors with the movement of her head. Her hair floated around her in zero gravity, a wave of shimmering silver that seemed to reflect the light of distant stars. She wore a uniform that was unlike anything Elias had ever seen. Elegant, flowing, yet obviously functional, designed for movement and speed. For a moment they simply stared at each other. He felt a strange warmth in his chest, a mix of fear and fascination, and then, as if deciding something in that instant, she stepped forward. "You are human," she said, her voice melodic, almost musical. Yet there was authority in it, something commanding even though she was standing alone in the void. Yes," Elias said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I'm Elias Trent, and you are?" She tilted her head, her glowing eyes studying him. "I am Princess Lyra of the Orathian Empire," she said plainly. "And you are now mine." Elias nearly choked. "Mine," he blinked. "You what?" Lyra's expression was calm, almost amused by his reaction. "Do not worry, the declaration is simple. You will aid me, you will protect me. And you will be with me." He stared, unable to process the words. Humans had never encountered Orathians before, at least not officially. They were legends in human space, stories of advanced beings with intelligence, technology, and discipline far beyond anything humanity had achieved. And here was one, speaking directly to him, claiming him in some way he didn't understand. "What do you mean, yours?" Elias asked cautiously. "I'm just a technician, I fix satellites." Lyra's eyes softened slightly, though the glow remained. "I see in you a quality rare in your species. You do not hesitate, you are clever, you are daring, you adapt. And those are valuable to me." Elias rubbed the back of his neck, trying to think. Valuable, him? Surely she didn't mean it literally. But before he could ask more questions, the ground beneath him shook. Small debris scattered as the remainder of her ship came to rest against the satellite. Lyra gestured to the damaged area. "My ship. It is not fully functional. I cannot return to Orathia without repair. Help me." Elia's mind raced. On one hand, he could refuse, but what choice did he really have? This was a princess, and her ship was clearly dangerous if left unattended. On the other hand, helping her could make him a target for the Orathian Empire itself, which, according to legends, demanded absolute obedience from all citizens. He swallowed and moved closer. "All right," he said. "Let's see what we can do." For the next several hours, Elias worked tirelessly. He climbed over her ship, rewiring circuits, adjusting power conduits, and improvising components from his repair kit. Lyra observed silently, occasionally offering subtle instructions or confirming that his methods would work in Orathian technology. He was amazed, not just at the advanced technology she commanded, but at how she trusted him without hesitation, despite the obvious difference in species and knowledge. During a break, they floated near the observation window, looking out at the stars. Lyra said nothing, but Elias could sense her curiosity. You humans, you have a way of seeing possibilities that others miss, she said finally. Even in chaos, you find a path. Elias laughed softly. That's kind of our thing. We're messy, but creative. Her eyes glowed brighter. And that is why I chose you, not because you are strong or wealthy or famous, but because you are human. He blinked at her. Wait, so you literally mean me? Lyra smiled, a small, radiant gesture that made the stars outside seem dim in comparison. Yes, you are the one I declared mine, and the Empire will have to understand that. Elias felt a strange mix of excitement and terror, declared by a princess. The entire Orathian Empire had rules about lineage, allegiance, and arranged bonds. And yet here he was, an ordinary human, standing in space next to a being from another world who had just changed his life forever. They resumed work in silence. Each repair, each adjustment, brought them closer to completion. Elias learned to adapt to Orathian engineering, and Lyra began to show a quiet respect for his methods. When the final panel clicked into place, the ship hummed with life, lights flickering as systems came online. You did it, Lyra said, her eyes sparkling. You repaired the ship. Elias stepped back, letting her inspect his work. I just followed the instructions mostly, a little improvisation here and there. She floated closer. You did more than follow instructions, you understood. That is rare. They were interrupted by a sudden alert on the ship's main console. A holographic display projected a fleet of Orathian ships approaching at high speed. Elias froze. I think they're here. Lyra's expression hardened. Yes, they wish to take me back. But now you are with me, and I will not return alone. Elia's stomach churned. Humans were resourceful, yes, but this was more than he had ever imagined facing. Still, he looked at Lyra and saw a determination that matched his own. Somehow, together, they could find a way. The ships grew closer, their sleek silver hulls glinting in the starlight. Lyra floated to the ship's controls. We leave now, she said. Trust me. Elias nodded. He strapped himself in, feeling the hum of the engines beneath him. The satellite they had been working on drifted behind them, small and fragile in the vastness of space, while their new adventure hurtled forward. As they slipped past the first wave of Orathian patrols using routes and maneuvers only a human mind could imagine, Elias realized something astonishing. He wasn't just a technician anymore. He was part of something bigger, something that transcended the boundaries of his species. And with Lyra by his side, he had a chance to show the galaxy what humans could do. For the first time in his life, Elias felt truly alive. Elias felt his stomach tighten as the stars outside the viewport streaked past in long, silvery lines. Lyra's ship moved faster than anything he had ever seen, weaving between asteroid clusters with precision that made his heart race. The Orathian fleet was still chasing them, but for now they had a head start. Elias leaned forward, eyes scanning the ship's console. Every system was working perfectly, thanks to the repairs he had made. Yet the thought of what lay ahead gnawed at him. How long before they catch us? He asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Lyra's glowing eyes studied the readouts. If we follow the usual routes, a few hours at most, but the Empire does not expect unpredictability. Elias blinked. Unpredictability? Their tactics are precise, rehearsed, and rigid, Lyra explained. They do not account for choices outside the norm. That is where you come in. He felt a surge of pride. Somehow this strange, royal alien saw him as more than just a human. He was more than a satellite repair technician. He was a partner in something extraordinary. All right, he said, then let's be unpredictable. Lyra smiled faintly, and together they began to plot a route that would take them through a dense asteroid field. The Orathian ships followed predictable patterns, and Elias suggested maneuvers that no Orathian pilot would anticipate. Twisting and diving between massive rocks, they dodged lasers that glinted briefly in the void, each shot harmless but meant to warn them to stop. Elias' hands moved instinctively over the controls. He had never piloted a ship like this before, but he trusted his instincts and Lyra's guidance. Every decision, every turn felt alive. There was no room for fear, only focus. Lyra observed silently at first, then gradually began offering advice, her voice calm and authoritative. You anticipate too far ahead, she said at one point, but forget the immediate risk. The Empire counts on that. Elias nodded, adjusting their trajectory. Immediate first, strategy second, got it. Hours passed, yet neither of them spoke much. Words seemed unnecessary. The hum of the engines, the streak of passing asteroids, and the quiet flicker of distant stars were enough. Finally, after what felt like a lifetime, they cleared the asteroid belt. The Orathian ships were still following, but their formation was disrupted. Lyra exhaled a sound Elias realized was almost musical. "Well done," she said softly. "You are more capable than I imagined." Elias grinned, a bit embarrassed. "Thanks, you weren't too bad yourself." For a moment, they just looked at each other, sharing a connection that neither fully understood yet. In that silence, Elias realized how extraordinary this situation was. He was a human, ordinary in every way by Earth standards, and yet here he was, alongside an alien princess evading an entire empire. It felt unreal. Later, as the ship drifted through a quieter sector of space, Lyra finally spoke about herself. "The Empire, it is not as simple as it appears," she said. "Every decision, every relationship is dictated by centuries of rules. My choice is considered rebellious." Elias frowned. "So by declaring me yours, you're breaking the rules?" Lyra nodded. "Yes, and that is dangerous. Yet there is something in your species that makes me willing to risk it. You see possibilities where others see limits. You do not hesitate when faced with uncertainty, and for that, I choose you." Elias felt a warmth in his chest. No one had ever said anything like that to him. On Earth, he was often overlooked, just another engineer doing routine work. But here, in the middle of space, an alien princess saw something in him that he had never recognized in himself. I don't know what to say," he admitted. "You do not need to speak," Lyra replied. "You act, that is enough." The conversation was interrupted by the ship's sensors detecting a nearby planet. "There," Lyra said, pointing to the display, "a neutral station. We can rest there. They cannot follow us inside without raising alarms." Elias felt a wave of relief. Finally, a place to breathe, to think. They adjusted their course and descended toward the station. The moment they docked, a crowd of beings from various species gathered to watch them arrive. Humans were not unknown in this sector, but they were rare. And seeing a human with an Orathian princess drew curious glances. Inside the station, Lyra led Elias to a quiet lounge. "You will need rest," she said. "We have a long journey ahead." Elias sank into a chair, feeling the weight of exhaustion press down. "Rest sounds perfect," he said. "But I keep thinking, why me? There are millions of humans. Surely the Empire has other choices." Lyra knelt beside him. "They do not understand your species. They see only strength in predictable forms. But humans, you have qualities they cannot predict or control. Curiosity, creativity, courage, and even humor. These are strengths of a different kind." Elias blinked. Humor, courage, curiosity. He had never thought of these as strengths in a universe filled with advanced civilizations and formidable technology. Yet here, next to a being more advanced than anything he had ever imagined, those qualities mattered more than brute power. As they rested, they shared stories. Elias spoke of Earth, of cities, oceans, and mountains, of humans working together in unexpected ways. Lyra told tales of Orathia, of rigid traditions, and the weight of expectations that came with royalty. They laughed, they marveled, and through it all, a bond grew that neither could deny. Days passed in the station, giving them time to prepare. Lyra studied the maps of the Empire's fleets, while Elias experimented with modifications to the ship systems. Together, they combined human ingenuity with Orathian technology, creating strategies that would make their next escape even more unpredictable. One evening, Elias stood near the viewport, staring at the swirling colors of a nearby nebula. "You know," he said, "I never thought I'd be here in the middle of space running from a galaxy-spanning empire." Lyra joined him, her glowing eyes reflecting the nebula. "And yet here you are, and I would not have chosen anyone else." Elias felt a lump in his throat. "I guess we make a good team," Lyra smiled. "More than a team, you are mine and I am yours, do you understand?" Elias nodded slowly, a mix of awe and disbelief. "I think so." Their peace was short-lived. Sensors on the ship began to flare, detecting a small reconnaissance vessel entering the sector. Elias felt his pulse quicken. "Another one?" Lyra's expression hardened. "Yes, they are testing our limits, but now you will see why humans are unpredictable." Elias smiled faintly, feeling a surge of confidence. The fear was still there, but alongside it was determination. They were not just escaping, they were learning, adapting, and growing stronger with each challenge. Together, they launched from the station, weaving through the nebula's swirling gases. Elias suggested maneuvers that defied conventional logic, and Lyra executed them flawlessly. The small Orathian scout could not follow, disoriented by the unexpected movements. After hours of tense maneuvering, they found themselves in the calm of deep space. Elias leaned back, exhausted but exhilarated. "We did it," he whispered. Lyra floated beside him. "Yes, and we will continue to do it. The Empire will learn that humans are not so easily contained." Elias laughed softly. "I guess that makes me kind of special, huh?" Lyra's eyes glowed warmly. "No, Elias, it makes you human, and sometimes that is more than enough." As they drifted through the endless stars, Elias realized something remarkable. He had never imagined that his life would change so completely. And yet, with Lyra by his side, he knew that whatever challenges the Empire placed before them, they could face them together. The adventure was only beginning. The hum of the ship was a steady, comforting presence as Elias Trent adjusted the controls for the 100th time that day. He had never imagined his life would come to this. A human drifting through alien space alongside a princess, plotting against an empire. And yet the stars outside the viewport were beautiful, infinite, and full of possibilities. Somehow it made everything feel worth it. Lyra hovered nearby, her glowing eyes scanning the navigation systems. Elias noticed how her expression was serious, thoughtful, as if she were calculating something far beyond the limits of human understanding. "What's on your mind?" he asked. "The Empire," she said simply. "They do not understand your species. They see humans as fragile, as simple, as temporary, but I see potential." Elias leaned back, trying to digest her words. "Potential," he repeated. "I'm just me, a guy who fixes satellites." Lyra turned to him, her gaze unwavering. "You underestimate yourself. Humans have qualities that even the most advanced civilizations cannot predict. Curiosity, creativity, empathy, and courage. These are strengths the Empire fears because they cannot control them. That is why I chose you." Elias felt a rush of warmth at her words. It was strange to be seen in this way, especially by someone from a species far older and wiser than his own. I'll do my best," he said. "That is all I ask," Lyra replied. For days, they traveled in secret, avoiding the Empire's patrols and exploring parts of space that no human had ever seen. Elias learned to anticipate Lyra's movements, to think in ways that combined human improvisation with Orathian precision. He found himself growing stronger, not physically, but in confidence and understanding. One day, while passing near a remote asteroid cluster, Lyra made a sudden decision. "We cannot keep running forever," she said. "We must learn their weakness. And there is something I have kept hidden, something the Empire fears more than any weapon." Elias frowned. "Something hidden? What is it?" Lyra's expression darkened. "The Empire values order above all else. It believes strength comes from control and tradition. But there are things it cannot control. Ideas, choices, curiosity, creativity. Your species embodies all of these, and that is why I declared you mine. You are proof that the galaxy cannot be contained." Elias felt a shiver run down his spine. He had thought their flight was dangerous enough, but now he realized that their very existence challenged an entire empire. "So, we're not just running," he said slowly. "We are showing them something?" "Yes," Lyra said, a hint of a smile returning. "We are showing them that humans, and by extension freedom, cannot be ignored." Their next stop was a small, neutral station orbiting a gas giant. Elias and Lyra hoped to find information about the Empire's fleet movements and any secrets that could help them plan their next steps. The station was quiet, a mix of traders, travelers, and researchers from multiple species. Humans were rare here, and a human traveling with an Orathian princess drew curious glances. Inside the station, Elias explored small shops filled with strange technologies, while Lyra sought discreet contacts who could provide intelligence on the Empire. They moved through the corridors side by side, a silent understanding growing between them. The people they met were polite but cautious, aware that any connection to a royal Orathian could be dangerous. Later, in the privacy of a small lounge overlooking the gas giant, Lyra revealed what she had learned. The Empire does not expect humans to act independently. It relies on predictability. They have spies, of course, but they dismiss human creativity as insignificant. "That is their weakness," Elias nodded slowly. "So we can use that, outthink them instead of fighting them." Lyra's eyes glowed softly. "Exactly, and you, Elias, will help me demonstrate it." Over the next few days, they worked tirelessly. Elias combined human engineering ingenuity with Lyra's advanced technology, modifying the ship to be faster, more agile, and capable of surprising maneuvers. They simulated Empire patrols, practiced routes through asteroid fields, and tested escape plans that no conventional thinking could predict. Through it all, Elias discovered something remarkable. Every time he faced a challenge, every time Lyra asked him to make a quick decision, he found himself capable of more than he had ever imagined. And Lyra, for her part, began to rely on his instincts, not just his knowledge. She trusted him in ways that went beyond loyalty or friendship. One evening, as the gas giant turned slowly below them, Elias and Lyra sat near the viewport, watching storms ripple across the planet's surface. Elias broke the silence. "You know, I never thought I'd be doing this." Traveling through space, outsmarting an empire being declared by a princess. Lyra smiled faintly. "Few humans have such opportunities, and fewer embrace them as you do. That is why I chose you, not because of rank or lineage, but because of who you are." Elias felt a lump in his throat. He had never been told he was special in this way, never in a world that valued normalcy and routine. And yet here, in the quiet glow of a distant planet, he realized that perhaps he could rise to the challenge. I won't let you down," he said quietly. "You never could," Lyra replied, her voice steady and full of conviction. Their peace was interrupted by a sudden alert from the ship's sensors. A fleet of Orathian vessels had been detected, moving swiftly toward their location. Elia's pulse quickened. "They found us," he said. Lyra's expression hardened. "They are close, but they do not expect what we will do next. Follow my lead and trust your instincts." Elias nodded, gripping the controls tightly. They slipped from the station, weaving through the gas giant's dense rings. Elias suggested unconventional maneuvers, using gravity slingshots and unexpected angles that threw the pursuing fleet off balance. Lasers streaked past them, harmless but warning of the Empire's intent. Hours passed in tense navigation. Each time the Empire adjusted its strategy, Elias countered with an idea no Orathian could predict. Lyra executed his plans with precision, a silent partnership forming between them. By the time they emerged from the rings, the pursuing ships were disoriented and delayed, giving Elias and Lyra a crucial advantage. As they caught their breath, Lyra turned to him. "You are remarkable," she said. "Your species has a gift the Empire cannot understand. And together we will show them the power of unpredictability." Elias smiled, feeling a surge of pride. "I guess that makes humans important in ways they never realized." "Yes," Lyra said, her glowing eyes meeting his. "And now we must decide our next move. We cannot run forever. We need a plan that will force the Empire to see the truth. That will make them understand that humans are not so easily controlled." Elias felt a thrill of excitement mixed with fear. "And what is that plan?" Lyra hesitated for a moment, her expression thoughtful. "We will show them, not with weapons, not with force, but with intelligence, creativity, and courage. We will demonstrate that humans, and by extension all beings capable of independent thought, cannot be contained. And you, Elias, will be at the center of that demonstration." He swallowed hard, the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. "Me," he whispered. "Yes," Lyra said firmly. "You will be the proof, the example they cannot ignore. And I will be with you every step of the way." For the first time, Elias understood the full scope of their journey. They were not merely escaping, they were challenging an empire. Every choice, every move, every act of ingenuity was a statement. And together, he and Lyra were unstoppable, not because of strength or numbers, but because of the qualities that made them human and Orathian working together. The stars stretched out before them, infinite and full of possibility. Elias felt a sense of purpose he had never known. And as Lyra reached out, her hand brushing against his, he realized that their bond was more than alliance. It was trust, respect, and something deeper that neither could name. The adventure was far from over. Ahead lay the Empire, their secrets, and a challenge unlike anything Elias had ever faced. But with Lyra by his side, he knew they could succeed. Together, they would show the galaxy the true power of creativity, courage, and the human spirit. And as the ship sailed into the uncharted expanse, Elias Trent finally understood something profound. Humans were not ordinary. They were unpredictable, resilient, and capable of greatness beyond imagination. And with that realization came the certainty that whatever the Empire could throw at them, they would rise above it, not through force, but through intelligence, ingenuity, and heart. Elias Trent stood at the viewport of Lyra's ship, staring at the glittering stretch of the Orathian Empire below. Planets swirled in perfect orbits, space stations gleamed like jewels, and fleets of ships moved in disciplined formations, all part of a civilization that prized order above all else. For a moment, the beauty of it took his breath away, but he did not have time to be awed. Lyra's eyes glowed softly behind him, her expression calm but filled with determination. "This is it," she said quietly. "The Empire's heart. If we succeed here, we show them everything. They cannot ignore us." Elias swallowed. He had faced danger before, weaving through asteroid fields, evading patrols, and outsmarting Orathian scouts. But now, standing at the edge of the Empire's capital system, he realized the stakes were higher than ever. "And if we fail?" he asked. Lyra turned to him, her glowing gaze steady. "We will not fail. You have brought human ingenuity to this moment. Your unpredictability is our greatest weapon. Trust yourself. Trust us." He nodded, feeling a surge of courage. They had come so far, not just surviving, but learning, growing, and challenging an empire that considered itself untouchable. And now it was time to show the galaxy what humans could do. Their plan was simple in concept, but complex in execution. The empire relied on control, on rigid predictability, and above all, on assumptions about what humans could or could not accomplish. Elias and Lyra intended to challenge every one of those assumptions. They would demonstrate creativity, courage, and intelligence in a way that no fleet of ships or walls of authority could ignore. They began by transmitting a small, harmless signal from the outskirts of the capital system. It was a message in code, simple yet intricate, demonstrating advanced problem-solving patterns that no Orathian technician had anticipated. Immediately, alarms sounded across several Empire command centers. Analysts struggled to decode the patterns, unable to predict the next step. Elias watched the consoles with fascination. "They're trying to figure it out," he said, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. "And they can't." Lyra's voice was calm, confident. "Exactly. And that is the point. Humans think differently. We exploit that difference. Every reaction they have confirms it." As the Empire scrambled to respond, Elias and Lyra moved closer to the capital. Using the ship's advanced technology and Elias' improvisations, they navigated through layers of detection systems. Every maneuver, every turn was unexpected. They used gravitational currents, spatial anomalies, and even small asteroid clusters to mask their approach. For hours, they operated in silence, relying on intuition and skill rather than brute force. Elias marveled at how seamlessly he and Lyra worked together. Her knowledge of Orathian systems complemented his human ingenuity perfectly. Where she anticipated technical details, he anticipated human or alien behavior that the Empire could not predict. Finally, they reached the central orbital station above the capital planet. It was massive, a hub of commerce, governance, and military command. Lyra spoke softly, almost reverently. "This is where we make our statement." Elias nodded. "And what exactly is our statement?" Lyra's eyes glowed brighter. "That intelligence, creativity, and courage matter more than rigid rules. That even the most ordered empire can be challenged by those who think differently. That humans cannot be contained." Together, they activated a broadcast system, sending a live demonstration of human ingenuity across the empire. Elias had designed it to be simple but striking. Using a combination of holograms, code, and problem-solving simulations, it showed human creativity solving impossible challenges, predicting outcomes no Orathian protocol could anticipate, and improvising solutions on the fly. Across the Empire, analysts paused, technicians stared, and commanders leaned closer. No one had expected this. The display was not a threat, not a weapon, but a proof that humans, and by extension all beings capable of independent thought, were unpredictable forces that even the Empire could not fully control. Elias watched the reactions with awe. "They're stunned," he whispered. Lyra nodded. "Yes, and that is the point. They cannot ignore what they cannot predict. We are teaching them a lesson in humility." As the broadcast continued, Elias felt a sense of pride unlike anything he had known. Humans had always been underestimated, often dismissed as fragile or simple. And yet here, across the vastness of space, the qualities that made them human, creativity, intuition, courage, were proving more powerful than any fleet of ships or wall of authority. Suddenly, a communication request came through from the Empire's central command. Lyra's expression hardened. They wish to speak with us. Elias felt a wave of tension. You're going to negotiate? He asked. Lyra shook her head. No, I am going to show them what humans can do. We will not fight, we will demonstrate, and they will see the truth. The call connected, and the Emperor himself appeared on the screen. His presence was commanding, regal, yet there was an unmistakable curiosity in his gaze. Princess Lyra, he said, his voice firm, you have acted without permission. Explain yourself. Lyra met his gaze steadily. Father, I have acted to show the value of a species your empire underestimates. Humans are not weak, they are not predictable. They are capable of ingenuity and courage that even the empire cannot fully control, and I chose Elias Trent because he embodies these qualities. The Emperor's expression faltered, though only briefly. And this demonstration you speak of? Elias stepped forward, his voice steady despite the tension. It's not a weapon, it's proof. Proof that humans and anyone willing to think differently can solve problems the Empire cannot anticipate. We don't need force to be effective. We need creativity, courage, and cooperation. For a moment, silence filled the chamber. Across the Empire, observers watched as the live broadcast of human ingenuity continued. The Emperor studied it, his eyes narrowing. Finally, he spoke, his tone quieter, almost thoughtful. You have shown something unexpected, and yet I cannot deny its effectiveness. Lyra smiled faintly. Exactly, and that is why humans are special, not because they are stronger, but because they think differently. Elias felt a rush of pride and relief. The Empire was listening. The Empire was learning, and more importantly, they could not ignore him or humanity any longer. Over the next hours, the Empire adjusted its protocols. Analysts and commanders studied human methods, trying to understand them, but each attempt revealed new layers of unpredictability. Elias and Lyra continued to broadcast examples, each more intricate and clever than the last. They showed problem-solving in real time, improvisation under pressure, and solutions that relied on creativity and intuition rather than strict rules. By the end of the day, the Emperor addressed the galaxy. Humans are not to be underestimated. Their ingenuity, courage, and unpredictability have value. Princess Lyra has chosen wisely. This demonstration is a lesson to all of us. Even the most advanced civilization can learn from those it once dismissed. Elias felt a wave of relief wash over him. The Empire was not angry. It was not attacking. Instead, it had acknowledged the truth that humans, and by extension any being capable of independent thought, were powerful in ways the Empire had never fully appreciated. Lyra turned to him, her glowing eyes softening. You did this, Elias. You showed them. You proved what your species is capable of. Elias smiled, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. We did this, Lyra, you and I together. The moment was quiet, peaceful, and filled with the kind of satisfaction that comes from achieving something extraordinary. Across the galaxy, humans gained recognition not through weapons, not through dominance, but through their intelligence, creativity, and courage. As the sun rose over the capital planet, casting golden light across its oceans and continents, Elias and Lyra floated together in the ship. They had accomplished the impossible not through force, but through thought, innovation, and heart. Elias looked at Lyra and realized something profound. He had started this journey as a simple engineer, a human at the edge of space. Now he had helped change the way an empire thought about an entire species. And alongside him was a princess who had seen potential where others saw weakness, courage where others saw fear, and ingenuity where others saw simplicity. Lyra reached for his hand, their fingers brushing in the weightless cabin. The journey is not over, she said softly. There will always be new challenges, new worlds, new possibilities, but together we will face them, and humanity will always have a place among the stars. Elias nodded, feeling a sense of awe and gratitude. I never imagined this, but with you it feels right. As they set a new course into unexplored space, Elias knew that their adventure had only just begun. The Empire had been challenged, humans had been recognized, and together they had proven that creativity, courage, and intelligence were the most powerful forces in the galaxy. And in that vast, infinite expanse, Elias Trent finally understood what Lyra had seen in him from the start, that humans, even ordinary humans, were capable of extraordinary things. The stars stretched endlessly before them, filled with possibilities, and with Lyra by his side, Elias felt ready to face them all. The galaxy was no longer just a place of rules and order. It was a place where humans could shine, where ingenuity mattered, and where hearts and minds could change the universe. And together, they would continue to do exactly that. The alien princess declared him hers, and the Empire couldn't stop them.